to order, please. And any public comment? No?
That'll be 14:01 for the meeting to be called to order.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
How are you? Good.
14:01?
14:01.
That's
14:01. Oh, sorry, 16:01. 4:01. Oh, see? I couldn't see. It's... Why did I? Okay.
It's okay.
So 4:01 p.m. or 16:01. Yeah. So there.
Now,
Here's Linda.
oh, good.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. We can wait up a few minutes, Ashley.
Do I get agendas and ready?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you ready? Almost. Yes.
We call the meeting to order at 16:01. 4:01. Jeez.
Now that we have that cleared up.
Yeah, let's make sure that's clear.
Okay. We have approval of the minutes. We've had a chance to peruse them.
Recommend we accept the minutes.
Second recommendation.
No objections. We'll accept them as written. Financial report.
Okay, Patty, we're ready for you.
Okay, thank you. We have April warrants that total $16,934.72. The total this month for payroll is $16,458.33. This includes Chief Carlson's salary of $5,000 and Chief Shield's pay of $2,958.33. There was one event for each of the commissioners and the secretaries. And the total payout for the volunteers, including the warrants, is $10,776. And the financials for March are in your meeting books for your review. And today we're looking for a motion to approve the warrants and payroll for April as presented.
Lindsay? No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded and passed that the April warrants a total of $16,934.72 and payroll for $16,458.33 be paid. Okay. I have one question.
Sure.
Usually the credit card gets broken down. There was nothing special on it this time.
Nothing over $1,000
Yeah,
as far as I
it
remember.
was all little stuff.
Yeah, the credit card, it was only
Okay.
$3,441, I think.
Thank you. Correspondence?
Nothing to report. I'll say again.
In the financial manager's report, we might have a budget update.
Yeah, budget update for Patty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, just real quick. The budget remaining as of March 31st, 2019 is 78.64%, and that compares to 78.52% from 2018. Just underline that in typo error. Sorry about that. On the top it says 2018 budget remaining. I will change that.
Oh, okay. Any questions of Patty? No? No? All right. Well, no correspondence, you said?
No, I guess there's rules, a lot of people that thanked us for the burn pile, because we conducted that burn, and some gratitude for allowing that to happen, and people to bring it to one central site for one central burn. It went off really easy. I'll talk more about it in my chief's report.
You can go ahead with your report then.
Okay, so my chief's officer report for April 2019 for the month of March 2019. The burn pile again was a success, so this is point of information. It took us, we sat on it for basically 2 days, and at the end of the 2 days, we put it out with some of our foam, and we stirred it up as best we could. The next day, started smoking in one area again, and there was still some hot coals underneath all of that. So I doused it again, and then we haven't had any issues with it. The big stumps are going to be removed. We're trying to work with Seabright right now in order to, through some different channels, to try to get those stumps taken over to Seabright, because they're going to have a large burn coming up. Plus, they're going to, as far as I have been informed, they're going to have a big stump splitter over there, so they're going to be able to break up those root balls and stumps to be better burned in their pile as well. If not, then they'll be moved to the northeast corner over by our septic fields on our boundary there with the water district. And then the other brush that's remaining over there will be moved out here by the end of the month is my hope, because the water district it may be going out to bid and have people come out and look at the property and those types of things for their new project over there. The mini pumper, we'll have that in service in May.
Good.
We're having final training on it on the 29th and 30th of this month. That'll be in the evenings, so our volunteers can participate as much as possible. And then the service date will hopefully be May 1 of this year for the mini pumper to be serving this community. That will become known as Engine 58. Engine 58 that is current right now will be Engine 5803, and then Engine 5802, which is Big Red, our biggest engine, will remain Engine 5802 for numbering purposes and for dispatch purposes. Station projects, the training room, the upstairs kitchen and bathroom, and then the office. So we had some water damage upstairs in the kitchen and also the upstairs bathroom. We've got paid out insurance claims on those. The bathroom upstairs may have more money going to it from insurance. They've prorated at this point until we get the work completed. And I'm moving forwards with the remodel of the upstairs kitchen because of the water damage and potential mold and everything else underneath the floor up there. And hopefully we'll be able to get those projects, that project, at least the kitchen, done in May with the extension of the bathroom after that. But I believe, I'm not sure which project's going to be done first, the bathroom or the kitchen. I have to finalize that. It's underneath the bid laws requirements. So we're looking probably between $20,000 and $35,000, which requires me to get 3 quotes. I called every construction company that identified them as general contractors on the small works roster yesterday. We have some that do no work here in Point Roberts. Some of those on the small works roster aren't just Whatcom County. I called people down in Pasco and Kelso, and that they're on our small works roster too, coming from south side of Seattle and eastern Washington. So they're not going to be doing work up here in Point Roberts either. So I have 2 or 3 of those businesses that gave me their emails that are willing to look at the project, but don't know if it's something they want to do just because of the low cost to that.
Are any of those local?
One has already quoted me local here, but I'm allowed to use the small works roster. Some of the construction people are not on the small works roster. And over the years I've asked them to get on the small works roster, but there's paperwork involved, proving of insurance and everything else that they have to maintain. So one company, well there's 2 companies, but the second company, their phone is disconnected. It's out of service, no longer used for that, so I move on. But they are Point Roberts local as well, but they don't have their updated phone number. There's nothing I can really do on the small works. And then there's one company that has, or that will be putting in a quote here as well. So once I get the 3 quotes, I can look at the 3 quotes and developing a very specific list of what we want done and with what and those types of things to make it as nice as possible within our financial means for the volunteer firefighters that stay here on a weekly basis.
It's important.
And bathroom needs a complete overhaul
Yeah.
up there, and it's really bad. And so that'll get done as well, but that's a separate project from the kitchen. So that's where we're at. All the flooring will be replaced upstairs, the carpet, all of that will be torn out. Here in the training room, we're looking at repainting the entire room. Some of the gray is what we're thinking about for the color. And I'm not sure if you see it up here, but it's a lighter color. And then we have a darker black gray carpet that would be going in. It looks like it's already stained. So the nice thing about that is if somebody spills coffee on us during meetings or something, that stain will just work into what it looks like on the carpet. They're 3 foot, so I can show what it is, but this is the carpet that we've chosen. And it'll be put out in pattern here. The volunteer organization, Port Harvest Charitable Society, is going to help us with this. And we were looking at getting our logo in the middle of the carpet, maybe, through the Volunteer Charitable Society as well. And that'll be it. So this whole room will be this. We're looking at maybe redoing the offices down here. So my office and Chief Shields' office, because that carpet is at its inroad as well with trying to clean it. And it looks really, really bad. It has some massive stains on it that won't come out during the cleaning process.
Put it up against the wall, would you? Thank you.
What's your guys' opinion? I'll do a poll. So that'll be the walls, because we need to lighten up the walls for this carpet and the tables, because it's going to be pretty dark. But then the ceiling will be a bright light.
No, I think that's,
So, I mean, there's other colors we can do, but this is one of the first colors that we picked. So we need to figure it out. I'd like to have this project done by the end of April. If not, hopefully by then, because we have a National Fire Academy course here over 2 days. And I'd like it to be a nice, fresh training room for the people that are attending, which will be between 30 and 40 people attending this Shaping the Future course that's offered by the National Fire Academy. So, any opinions?
Is that white or beige?
It's a light gray. It's a light gray. Yeah.
I think you're right that it'll absorb stains well.
Yeah, it looks like a stain pattern already, right? So that's the purpose.
What they call won't show carpeting.
Yeah, it won't show carpeting, and it's an industrial carpeting that gets put into like YVR and stuff. So, you know, tens of thousands of people are walking on a daily basis, and it holds up really well, and won't have that type of traffic in here. But it's an industrial carpet.
And the good thing about it is one piece wears out, it's got what they call pressure glue, so you just take
Yeah.
that piece and you put another piece down.
So this is replaceable because it comes in this length. So these are all put together, but if you have a damage in one area, you just replace those.
and it doesn't show, because of the
Yeah.
variation, it doesn't show the
No.
seams.
No.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing, is that they'll be put together, and you'll be able to put it, it'll be all put together, and then it's pressure glue on the bottom. And if this one gets ruined, then we just pick this one up, remove it, and replace it with a new one.
That's good.
And we were talking a herringbone pattern.
Yeah, which is gonna be stacked, which is gonna give us a different.
That'll
pattern.
give us some variety. You know?
Yeah. Nice looking.
I like it.
All the flooring now, vinyl flooring and everything is done that way, in planks like that. So if your flooring gets a chip or something in it, or one of them gets ruined, which happened at my house, all we did was pick up like 10 of them in one area and just replace that area. So it's the new way. They also come in squares, 2x2 squares, but this pattern doesn't come in those squares. So we weren't able to go. So that's another, we thought that was way too dark, so.
No.
No, that's almost too black.
Yeah.
So that's black. Yeah. But squares versus planks. We were trying to get this in squares, but it doesn't come in squares. So it comes in that plank.
They had that type of carpet at Semiongo, but it did have a pattern that was sort of a
wave that was supposed to go along the wall. The people who were installing it didn't know that, so they had to reinstall it.
Oh, my.
This is more forgiving, apparently.
We'll see how it goes, but, so that's the idea. I don't know if it'll be finished, if we're gonna be able to put it all together by the end of the month, or not, but we're gonna give it a try and see where we end up. So some pretty big projects moving forward. This is part of the capital facilities plan, capital improvement plans. That's 2018, 2019, or 2036, that whole plan. This was part of it. Last year, we only did 2 projects, and that was the engine in 858, getting that rebuilt, and the other one was purchasing the mini pumper. So those were the only 2 projects out of 4, I think, that were on the docket for 2018, which one of the projects was redoing the upstairs and stuff, and that's published on our website. And so I hope to get the upstairs and this done in the offices. And obviously the paint, most likely this color will be in this whole area here, but past that door, we want another color. And then past the next door into the main offices, we'd like the walls to be another color.
And the painting gonna take place first?
Oh yeah, we're gonna put a
Don't
carpet
put the garbage down
No,
first.
no,
We're gonna paint over the new carpet and get all that damaged, and then have to see how it replaces.
Then you will have drippy roofs.
The running boards and stuff, we're talking about that, maybe making those white, if we can get that painted in time, but it's gonna take some work.
As a training facility, this is a very hard room. It's acoustically,
Yeah, it's always had
you
that
know,
issue.
got a lot of echo. I was wondering if any thought was directed toward putting some acoustical tiles on the ceiling rather than just painting, just white acoustical tiles. Wonder what the difference in cost would be, and how that might affect the ambiance of your training environment.
I'm not getting complaints from my volunteers, so my voice, I guess, is okay. We do host HOA meetings in this room, and the physical therapy uses our gym and utilizes this room on their days sometimes. The big meetings like Veterans Day in November, you know, we have 70-some people in this room at that point. I've never gotten any complaints on those types of things, and to have true acoustic tiles, I don't know what the cost are of those.
Very
Commissioner Lester seems to think that they're very expensive.
They are.
And I just want to freshen it up. You know, I want to freshen it up. It is our main training facility. We have an incredible 110-inch, screen that comes down for the public to use. People can rent this for birthday parties, family gatherings, things like that. It's just no alcohol. That's one of the rental agreements, is that there's no alcohol, and then that they would clean up and be responsible for any damage that would occur. But anybody can rent this for $25. That's the nominal fee that we have.
And that wall over there is going to be the same color as the here, or even-
That'll probably stay. The blue over there will probably stay.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll go good with the gray. The light gray on the walls, that being blue, it'll look fine.
Yeah.
It'll look fine. So right now I'm looking for a painter, otherwise I'll be in here painting. Yeah.
We all volunteer.
Yeah, and I haven't heard, one of the general contractors was going to ask the painters they know in Point Roberts if they would be, and again, it comes down to cost, because we only have so much money, and that becomes a factor. If somebody wants $10,000 to paint this room, then I don't have $10,000 to paint this room. Right? So.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. It shouldn't be too difficult.
You're correct. It is pretty straightforward, but some people, they add in costs because of the height and different things like that. We need to take off the light fixture covers and make sure those are covered and painted and everything. And we'll see where it goes.
Just thinking about maybe putting LED fluorescent type lights.
Well, these are interesting. These are energy efficient Lights, we had PSE come in here and change out all of our ballasts
And all the bulbs.
and the bulbs.
Yeah,
So
they're all
these are
they're all
energy-
T8 bulbs in here now.
Yeah, so these are all energy efficient already. We were part of, what else did they?
They changed every light bulb in the station.
Yeah,
Well, they did.
yeah, and that was through something there, I don't remember, that was years ago. That was when I first came on board, if not before I took over the chief's position. I reached out to PSC and they had a thing going for, they came in and they did it for free.
They even changed the ballast and the lights in the parking lot
Yeah.
Wow.
to energy efficient,
Mhm.
high pressure sodiums that were out there.
There might be a different cover that we can get. I don't know if you're looking for more light or for, there might be a different cover we can get that's clearer.
Yeah, the wraparound is fine.
You know, I
It seems bright
We
enough.
don't want it clear.
No, you don't want it glaring.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but yeah, everything was changed out, and that's the same time that we changed out. I'm not sure if, I know I paid for some of the windows, but I'm not sure if I paid for all, but all of our windows, every single window in the fire station got changed out too. Exterior window in the clinic, everything got changed out. And I'll have to go back and see what year that was, that all that got done. But we used to have really old windows, the old
Aluminum ones.
aluminum sliders.
The original windows in the station was built in '82.
And they weren't, you couldn't go out of them if something would happen upstairs.
Mhm.
They weren't you couldn't exit or enter from the outside. They had a solid window and then a little slider down at the bottom. I don't know if you remember those windows. So, but I changed them all out. And they're energy efficient windows and everything like that, so. We're being as energy efficient as possible with the lighting fixtures and the windows and the heat and all that, but when you have baseboard heating upstairs, I mean, we're getting through our really expensive months because our average electric bill in the winter is $1,200
Yeah.
on average for this building. That's not the clinic, it's just the fire side. The clinic pays us prorated on their electric with that, but now we're coming into the months where our electric bill will be half of that, right? So it's just the way at the time the station was built and how we decided to heat it, at the time. The only place that's heated and air conditioned is this room, right here, inside the whole station.
Some of the covers might need to be replaced. I don't know what happened to it over there, but it's got, like it was stained or something.
It might not have been cleaned since 1983. So
That's a possibility.
we might be able to just get some CLR
It would be
or
pretty amazing if they got washed.
some, I don't know if anybody's been up that high. And that could be the spray over paint
Yeah.
too, when the ceiling got painted, maybe they didn't remove them. I'm not sure, but
Could be the cigarette smoke from bingo.
yeah. Because everybody needs to remember, this was bingo. This was a bingo hall at one time, so.
And there
but
was
it
a lot of
serves-
smoke in here.
I believe it's this is one of the best training rooms in the county
It's a beautiful.
for size and availability to hold a lot of people and stuff. The screen, the only screen that matches that I know of is North Whatcom, which is bigger than this. Their screen is huge down there. I think it's probably twice the size of this one in their training room. But other than that, we have a nice public gathering training room / training room to do stuff in that's necessary. So that's that. So the station projects, again, I'm moving forwards, and training room, the upstairs, kitchen, bathroom, and then the offices. The offices are going to be difficult just because we have to move our desks and everything to lay new carpet. So we might just get 10 firefighters and lift up the desks and have the carpet laid. And again, the Volunteer Charitable Society is helping us with this, so that's also going to save us some money in regards to taxpayer funds. So it's good because my budget only goes so far.
And they're gonna come and do the painting, is what you're saying.
Well, I don't know if they'll help me with painting, otherwise I won't be burning the candle at two different sides and then working it down to the middle.
Okay.
And I'll be in here with my headband down on, and music playing and everything else, and painting this for ourselves and the public to use. So we'll see. I'm sure Assistant Chief Shields will be in here as well and helping, but the demo goes quick. That's something that can go very, very quick for us. But it's a benefit to not only us, but the community as well.
Yeah.
Nothing to report on the apparatus at this point. We still have 44 members. We just brought on 5 new members, which I'll report on next month. 28 Canadians, 9 Point Roberts, 7 County, 3 paramedics, 11 EMTs, of which 7 are advanced EMTs, 3 ambassadors, 35 firefighters. Volunteer hours for the month of March was 2,863. Volunteer payroll, if all were getting paid, was 13,090. Combined chief hours, I had a really busy month. I had 214 hours that I put in, and that's because I taught an advanced medical life support class and also a 2-day advanced cardiac life support class in the month of March. So both were 48 hours in duration. So of that, well, 2 days, I should say. They're not 48 hours, but 2 days teaching those courses, so it ended up being 4. So that added to my time for the month of March. Chief Shields worked 159 hours, total of 373. We had 39 service calls to the community. 12 of those were medical calls. We had 1 transport down to St. Joseph's. Airlift Northwest came in and got 1 of our patients. We had 8 no transport or patient refusals. And North Whatcom and Ferndale Medic 45 came in and both got 1 transport apiece. We had 17 CARES program or in-home visits in the month of March, and we had 1 public service. We had 9 fire classifications. We had 4 outdoor permitted burns. We had 3 illegal burns. We had 1 false alarm, and we had 1 power line incident. Obviously, it's now coming to the point of outdoor burning for the public, and I just want to remind the public, every type of burn here in Point Roberts requires a permit. It provides us the opportunity to educate each and every person that comes in to get a permit to what they can burn, what they cannot burn, the water sources that need to be on site, how big their fires can be, those types of things. Because it's incredibly important for us to make sure that everybody's burning safely and not, putting toxins into our air on stuff that should be burned. We just went to a burn not too long ago, and it was a full pile, probably a 5 by
15.
pile of just construction material, glued together, flooring, everything, and they started burning right as it was getting dark. And there was a neighbor that happened to be outside and saw it and went over and told them he couldn't burn it and called us, and they received a correction notice. And if that happens again at that property, we'll be sending them down to Northwest Clean Air. So again, to remind the public, we'll give you that 1 chance with the correction notice unless you're really, really outside any of the guidelines that are currently in place. There was an individual here in Point Roberts that was charged $750 by Northwest Clean Air last year, and we also sent a member of the community to jail for up to, I think it was right around a week, because of their just habitual illegal burning on their property throughout, I don't know, I'd have to say a year, where we gave them opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And finally, we called the sheriff's over, and the sheriff's officer arrested the individual. So I take illegal burning and the privilege of being able to burn here in Point Roberts very, very seriously. I myself buy permits, so I spend my $5 for the week as the fire chief. I spend my $20 for the recreational burn as well as the fire chief. I can't expect the community to follow the guidelines if the fire chief is not following the guidelines themselves. So I do the same things and have my water, my rake, and everything like that that I expect of the community to have. But just oblivious burning of garbage, which we've had piles of garbage being burned here, just kitchen garbage bags and thrown on a pile, and it's solid garbage, construction material, anything like that. I have very little patience for it because of what it does to community and our air here within Point Roberts. So we'll give that one opportunity, but if we go back to the residents on a second opportunity, then we'll be sending them down to Northwest Clean Air. And Northwest Clean Air takes it very seriously, depending on what they're burning. We take pictures of all illegal burns, and it becomes part of our record keeping now, attached to the file. So no one can say, well, that wasn't my burn pile, that wasn't me, that wasn't this, because we've had that in the past, that the pile was only 2 feet wide, when it was actually like 10 feet, in a pile, and it took a tractor to put it out, type thing, versus a 2-foot pile. We've had those arguments, and at that time, I made the decision that from that point forward, we'll be taking pictures of all illegal burn piles that are documented and correction notices are given, because those files go down to Northwest Clean Air, and then they have no ability. We always get the person in the pictures, we always get their property in the picture, so they can't defy that, well, I wasn't there, well, you're in this picture right here, right, standing next to the burn pile, taking a picture, right? And that's put a halt to it pretty much, but Northwest Clean Air, you need to understand that Northwest Clean Air can fine up to tens of thousands of dollars on the first time that somebody's put down to Northwest Clean Air, depending on what's being burned and what it's causing to the environment as well. And they don't hesitate to lien your house. So if you decide to not pay it, they'll put a lien on your home. And they have full legal authority here in Washington to do those types of things. But one person, I'm sorry to say, we had to send down, and they got a $750 fine that they had to pay. So we'll be moving forwards with helping people burn safely and correctly and stuff. And it's justly put into place throughout the community. If I'm illegally burning something, I expect my firefighters to give me correction notice, right? But I won't be illegally burning. So I don't see myself doing that. Okay? I think that concludes my chief's report.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, I'm just curious about one thing, and that's that wonderful mini pumper.
Yeah.
As I recall the last meeting, there were some challenges, some issues mounting equipment
Mm-hmm.
on that unit, and some of the trade-offs. You didn't want to drill a lot of holes into the
Right.
body, and one of the didn't want to deal with some of the side effects that could cause. But yet they had to mount this stuff.
Right.
How did that go? Did you need to contract any outside assistance, or was that all done?
No, it's all done in-house. There's no necessity to contract that out. So Chief Shields is very good at those types of things.
I've
And
noticed.
what I couldn't say last month, the racks,
Pro-track.
the ProTrack racking, which I couldn't say 5 times fast last month. Okay, we received it, and those have been mounted, and then the equipment is mounted on those. So there's no drilling into the poly body at this point. We got our radios placed, so that is complete. The portable radio charging system is in the rig as well. We have back covers for our firefighters in the back seats. It is a little tight back there. It's something that our firefighters are going to have to get used to, being in a smaller space than what they're used to in the engines at this point, especially when they're getting out of the truck in full bunkers and they have a size 13 shoe on. They're going to have to figure out how to get out of the truck with that. But I think it's going to be great for the public. Everything else is going, we're just waiting for one more smooth bore nozzle at this point, so we can put that on our second cross light, and then we'll be ready to go. WSRB is coming back in July, so the Washington State Rating Surveying Bureau is coming back in July to redo our quote-unquote ISO rating, our insurance rating, but it's not ISO, it's WSRB. It's different than the true ISO. The Washington State Fire Chiefs Association went through a lot of work reconfiguring the list that is requirements on apparatus to be classified in certain areas. The last time they came was in 2015, I believe, and we had what did we purchase?
Hose clamps, LDH hose clamps.
Yeah, LDH hose clamps, which were
Not there now.
well, it's not on the list anymore, but For us to get point value, we had to purchase a 5-inch hose clamp, and now they don't require it, so that's a loss to the taxpayers. Here, the hundreds of dollars that had to go out for that, because each engine had to have one of those.
Why did that change?
It's just, we're trying to, hopefully through the Washington State Chiefs Association, become more objective and realistic with what is necessary to have on a fire apparatus to conduct ourselves efficiently on a fire scene. And just like the mini pumper will get the same point value of what I've been told that our big pumpers will get, because I was able to put ladders on. So on top of the mini pumper, there's a 24-foot, 14-foot roof and a 10-foot attic ladder on that, which is the same complement that we have on the bigger engines, but we have other ladders. We have a 35 and a 28, I think, as well on the bigger engines. So that's something that we had to look at and spend on, so I could get the same value in the mini pumper as our other pumpers have, and it wouldn't hurt our rating here in the community, right, as a first response vehicle. That mini pumper pumps 1,500 GPM, which is the same pump rating as the bigger engines that we have. So it can push the same amount of water, it's just on a different chassis, right? And with a poly body, it'll be interesting once we have to replace the chassis, the Ford 550, in the years to come when that's needing to be replaced, we can just pick up the body off of that chassis and put another chassis underneath it and put the body back on. That's the purpose of a poly body, because it's a lifelong body. It's not going to rust, it's not going to... the trick will be is if it gets dented or like it gets hit, getting it to a repair shop that can do poly work. That'll be the interesting thing.
WSRP comes up with a list. This is what you are required to have to meet this type of thing. So you got to have so many feet of this type of hose, so much water, so much.
So we had to have 1,000 feet of 2.5 inch, at least 2 inch, on the mini pumper. So we had to buy a lot of hose because we didn't have that much in reserve to place on the mini pumper, because that is considered our supply for the mini pumper, because most everything we're going to run is through the tank. But we can bring in 5-inch LDH, large diameter hose. We can bring that in a mini pumper if we have to flow big water on a defensive fire. So we have the capabilities. We have more capability with the mini pumper now, suppression capability, because our 300-gallon tank plus 25 gallons of foam in the CAF system. So CAFS is KAFS, compressed air foam system. So now this new mini pumper, it pushes air into the hose, foam, and water. But if we're running straight water, we're doing about 125 gallons a minute. Where on the mini pumper, with the foam and the air, we're only doing 60 gallons a minute on that. So it's a change, but we have more suppression capability. The suppression capability we have just sitting on that pumper now is in the range of what we've read is around 10,000 gallons of pure water, where we only have 300 gallons and 25 gallons of foam. So it's a much bigger punch when we're putting out a fire because of the foam capability, and we're going to be utilizing it on all residential, commercial, vehicle fires, dumpster fires, those types of things.
Well, you should certainly get the equivalent rating based on the capability. Assuming it does, is it in your long-range plan when you have to replace another engine to replace it similarly?
Yeah, I think with a similar engine, definitely one of the big reds. The grants are usually around that $250,000 to $300,000 mark anyway for apparatus, unless you're really lucky to get $600,000, $1 million, which Seattle got over $1 million one of the last years for a tiller rig. Those are the rigs that you have a driver in front and a driver in back, and they got their budget's $200 million, right? And they got $1 million, for a ladder track. It's just one of the flukes, right? That they wrote the right grants. The grant, evaluators thought it was purposeful for them to get that money to replace one of their vehicles. Where we struggle with not even being looked at, for those types of grants. But if I write a grant for $350,000, we have a better option, better possibility of getting a grant for that size to replace one of our older engines. But again, through the capital facilities plan, unless we get a grant to replace one of those engines, is that they go out to 40 years. So one of them is 1991, and so that makes it 28 years old. Is that right? 28 years old. And the other one's a 1994. Little Red is a 1994, so that makes it 25 years old at this point. And I'm looking at trying to get those both out to 40 years apiece. I'll write grants periodically throughout these coming years to see if I can get one of those replaced at a full pumper, possibly, or something that is a mini pumper type of setup. But those rigs are in decent shape at this point. We have to maintain them every year, but there's going to be costs associated with that over the years too. You remember engine 5802, we replaced its tank, right, because it rusted out. And now we have a poly tank in that apparatus that was worth $28,000 in replacement cost. But it is our tender. Tender is something that has more than 1,500 gallons on it, I believe, or somewhere in that range by definition, and it has 1,800 gallons on it. We lost 200 gallons because of the poly tank design versus the steel design that was in it previously. So it is our tender for the mini pumper. So when we go down Berry Lane, everybody knows where Berry Lane is off of Boundary Bay. There's some very large homes at the end of Berry Lane, and there's no hydrants down Berry Lane. So the homeowners decided not to put in hydrants down Berry Lane. So our hydrant comes off Boundary Bay. And we have 1,000 feet to a tree on Berry Lane. And there's a blue dot on that tree. So that's where our first, one of our big engines would lay to, right? Or lay from there. So they would lay forward from that blue dot. The second engine would come in. They'd grab the hydrant off of Boundary Bay by the house that has the white fence there. They'd grab that hydrant and do a forward lay, which they put the LDH on the hydrant, pull into that tree, and then unhook and hook the hoses together. Or relay pump, where they could pump into their engine, speed it up because of how many feet it is, speed it up, and then push it to the next engine for suppression purposes. Where now, we probably will not have to do that lay as long as the mini pumper is in service and not getting its oil changed or something like that, because of the suppression capability the mini pumper has. We'll be able to use the big pumper, engine 5802, as our tender, because it has 1,800 gallons plus 300 gallons. So we have 2,100 gallons of firefighting capability off of those two trucks plus the foam, and we're using 60 gallons a minute. So that can last us a long time. If we need to flow big water, then we're going to need to lay the regular way and have a pumper in between to relay that.
And then the thing that changed with WSRP is they took the year rating off the trucks. At 25 years, you started losing your point value. And it says as long as it meets pump testing, you get full point value.
And our trucks are meeting their pump capacities.
On these roads like Berry Lane stuff, the homeowners get to choose whether or not they have a hydrant.
Yeah,
That's just what's going through.
yeah. And during Chief Skinner's time with the organization, he sent letters out and saying that suppression is what it is. We may be able to get down there with water, we may not be able to, you're taking a risk. And I let the homeowners know that they're at risk being down that long of a hose lay, especially with our personnel issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, their insurance rates must be higher.
insurance rates, doesn't matter. You know, how far away are you from a hydrant? That gets asked, but all of Point Roberts is a 5. We went from a 6 to a 5. I'm very confident that we'll hopefully maintain that 5 this year. I think we're going to get some benefits with having a third pumper on point. Will it get us to a 4? I doubt it. My issue with going to a 4 is we have to maintain it. 5 right now, we're right in the middle between a 5 and a 6, so we're like 5.5 right now. I think we'll become hopefully closer to 5.0, but to get to like a 4.8 and get another reduction, but then 5 years later go back to a 5. I want to be able to sustain what our status is, right? And if I can improve it, I will, but I need to be able to sustain that.
And there's a lot of places in the point that don't have hydrants. Crystal Water Beach, That whole.
off of APA.
Off
That's
APA.
right.
That's
There's
another,
only three hydrants in that whole thing, and two of them are at the very bottom, and one is up off EPA, but it's like 800 feet before you turn onto Crystal Water Beach.
yeah, so we're using all of our hose out of one truck.
Mhm.
Where with the mini pumper, if it's first out, then we'll be able to just, we'll be able to pump to the mini pumper off of the other truck. The other truck holds 750 gallons. So the small red, little red holds 750, so we still have 1,000 gallons of water capable in a room and contents fire, which should be more than enough. So on a regular home, you usually, unless you go defensive, you usually use between 1,000 and 1,500 gallons of water at the most, and that would be a larger home. But room and contents, a regular bedroom, a couple hundred gallons is what we'd use on just a small room and content bedroom or living room or something like that. But if the whole house gets involved, then it's a different story. We'd have to.
Would you go down Berry Lane in a wildland fire situation?
Well, it depends number of factors.
Yeah.
Commissioners, where's the wildland fire? Which direction is it traveling? At what speed? You know, we can get to it off of Sunrise.
Yeah.
There's a hydrant off of Sunrise, which is, what's the,
Off Madrona.
Madrona. Yeah, it's off Madrona Sunrise. There's a hydrant over there that's on the backside or the very north end of Berry Lane that we could bring in to that area too, that we could lay from. We're going to destroy a lot of flowers.
And fences.
Landscaping that one of the owners has done,
Yeah.
but it is what it is at that point. And we could bring in supply from that hydrant if things got really bad. But we're trapped down Berry Lane, so if we had a really large wildfire, I would not put our firefighters in that position because we have one way in and one way out. And even, you know, wildland situations, the public probably has seen this on the news, that we back in our engines to residential areas. The reason why is we back in because sometimes we can't turn around and we're already ready to emergency evac if the wildland fire overtakes the area that we're in. So even backing into Berry Lane, there's too much space between Berry Lane and APA, or not APA, but Boundary Bay, to safely have any of my firefighters evac and not lose their lives in the process.
Have you gone through, looking at everything, kind of setting up a triage, how that would go lay out?
Well, we have a lot of fire breaks, right? So the point has a lot of fire breaks with just the roads. But if it gets into crown fuels, so if it gets to the top of the trees, nothing's going to stop that. Especially if it's wind driven. It's going, by the time that we redeploy to an area, it's probably going to have passed us depending on how it's driven. So it becomes, and during that wind, our lines and our hose streams, even the master streams we have, would be affected so bad by the wind, we wouldn't even be able to get to the top of the trees to let them down to any capacity. Right? We hope that wildland fires will stay on the ground to where we have the ability to get to them, and that the wind won't be driving it. That it'll be a still day, and we'll be able to get in and suppress it and have as little damage as possible. But it is a very, very objective risk here for Point Roberts. We've been very lucky over the years. So again, that's why I'm really heavy, kind of sometimes heavy-footed on outdoor burns and those people that have no consideration for the community at large.
I just wonder, there's a lot of talk in DNR about the fire season coming up in the future and stuff. I just wonder if there's any grants available through them to assist the community to clean up the woods a little bit. Things like that.
That's a good question. There's issues with all of that unless it's publicly owned land, right? Because you would have to get permission from the individual landowners to come into their property. So that would be extensive, right, process. I don't know if there's grants available for communities like us through the DNR. You know, if I can request DNR in a wildland fire, but it's going to take them 2 hours to deploy and to get up here. It's not going to be anytime soon, right? Plus, CBSA may stop them. even though they see the plume on Point Roberts, right? And they're like, we're going to that, and CBSA may stop them and secondary them and go through their trucks. Because, everybody remembers the story about the FBI and ATF that got stopped at the border
Yeah.
on a bomb threat that we had here, a suspicious package, and they had to bring over a barge because CBSA would not let them through with all their equipment and guns and everything else. So I remember how many years that was. That was,
Yeah, that's probably 12, 15 years ago, yeah. They wouldn't let the Postmaster General, the ATF, the FBI, or the Bellingham Bomb Squad through with their stuff.
yeah, because was it at the post office?
It was actually at point to point,
Point to point.
yeah.
So they said no, right? And they had to bring over a barge to Point Roberts at that time. So who knows what they would do with DNR and 2 trucks, 3 trucks showing up from DNR at the border. I don't know what they would do. We do share firefighters across the international border on a yearly basis. A lot of Canadian wildland firefighters go to the east side that burns down, it seems like every summer now. They lose hundreds of thousands of acres on the east side. But we do share firefighters across the border. So hopefully, if it was during the day and they saw the plume, CBSA would look over and go, okay, you're clear. Go ahead and go through. And we can make that phone call saying we got 3 DNR trucks coming through. We have uncontrolled wildland fire here on Point Roberts. We need them to be cleared. And they may listen or they may not listen. Just like we do in medical calls, we contact both CBP, CBSA before we get to the border, so those lanes are usually open and we have a minimal stop time at the border.
Have you approached the border people about that situation now?
Yeah, so our first meeting is actually this Thursday. The public's not going to be involved yet, it's just going to be the stakeholders. No one else is involving or having a public member be at the beginning meetings because we actually need to create that plan, right? And be able to talk freely at the table and say, okay, what are the risks? What would be the potential of pulling the trigger that we would need a mass migration out of Point Roberts? There's been concern with some of the community members here that what happens if we get that wildland fire that we can't put a quick hit on, right, and control in the initial stages. What should people do, right? And the answer that I have to that through conversations with you and other people is, if we do have a big wildland fire, people become aware of it, that they head to one of the 3 sides of the water. And they go to the beach because they can go into the water and they'll be safe by the water, and that's where they should head to if they can get to one of the 3 sides. Earthquake, tsunami coming in, it's not going to be, reduced by the islands that it has to come through, those types of things. How do we get 2,000 people out of Point Roberts during the summer in an effective way? And that's Delta Fire, Delta PD, Sheriff's Office has been invited. They're not going to be able to make the first meeting. CBSA will be there and CBP. And we're going to start those discussions this Thursday. And at some point, I'm sure the public will be able to be brought into the conversations. But a lot of people don't understand the levels that are going to have to be gone to because Tsawwassen is going to have to be involved. Because if we try to mass migrate out of Point Roberts, their streetlights are all going to have to be green. And if they have a mass migration because the tsunami's coming in, they're going to have evacs coming out of that city as well, right? So RCMP, Delta PD, Public Works, everybody has to be involved. So we have issues or we have concern about the barriers that were put up at the border. The big concrete barriers now that are not movable, and how that doesn't allow access to the border from the border, which is Roosevelt, doesn't allow those people to come into the border. And how will that be affected? Are we going to be able to get those moved? And my preliminary answer to that is those are there to stay. And there's no effective way to get those moved in 30 minutes with a forklift so people can start using Roosevelt to exit Point Roberts. So CBSA is the big player in this, and CBP, because we can go through CBP's parking lot and go against the gates, right, and go out, but also through CBSA. But we have to be able to do that in an orderly fashion. People can drive up Roosevelt and leave their vehicles, right, and cross on foot.
We're jamming up anyway.
But we all know that during the summer, Tyhee backs up to Benson sometimes with all the people coming down. Now with gas close to $1.70 per liter in Canada, we're gonna have more people coming down here most likely
Already.
to get commodities. So even in a normal day, without needing an evac, we have traffic issues at CBSA, right? But it will have to be a specific trigger that puts CBSA and CBP into a different mode. They do have mass migration plans set in Blaine, but they've never had one as far as I understand. Maybe I'll get different information, but from the conversations I've had with CBP, they do not have that plan in place for Point Roberts. So that's where we're at, but it is a process, and it's going to be not a short process. It's going to be a long process, I think. A number of meetings are going to have to partake, and I will do my best to allow the public to be involved, but it's way past just the concrete barriers. There's much more involved than just moving the concrete barriers, and that's what people need to understand is that, well, they need to move the concrete barriers. Concrete barriers are a piece of, a grain of sand in the big picture when it comes to moving that many people across the border in an efficient manner and not bottlenecking in Swasso. Yeah. So, anything else?
Yeah, question, you're going to have the dedication of the mini pumper when?
Haven't decided yet. As
Oh, I
long as
thought
the
you said
training-
something in the beginning. I
In May,
misunderstood.
my goal and my hope is May. And it'll be on a weekend so the public can participate. And I don't know if I'll be able to get that into the May paper or not. I need to pick that date before they publish the May paper and hopefully get that publicized. I'll put it out on social media as well, but hopefully we can get some public members here to help us push it into the Bay on its inaugural day of response. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions? Any new business? We've had several. If not, we adjourn at 16:58.
Meeting at 5.